Alright, Talal, this is your left side test that you had done a couple weeks ago. I know I had planned to send this video to you earlier, and I believe I had uploaded it to the South Breeze YouTube channel, so you should have been able to see your video there. I know I hadn't gotten a chance to assess it yet, or give you an actual analysis video like this. I know I showed you some of this at Mother's Beach the other day when you were doing this, but I did also say I would make this video. So here it is, just as a review, because I know you're planning to try that retest tonight or tomorrow night. Alright, so I'm going to slow it down even more on this run through. So I have the video on the right side of my ERG test for you to kind of take a look at the comparison. So one of the biggest things I mentioned, let me sync up our catch here. Okay, so you have a really big, powerful setup here. Really good on the twist. I think the only thing I would say, and I know this was, you haven't done the ERG a lot, so these are kind of tips for you to adjust so that what you're doing on the ERG is a little bit more like what you're doing on the water. So the first thing is obviously try to make sure that your arm in the front is set up, if you want to think, set up just over the water, right? And when we're paddling on the boat, our arm at setup is never pointed upwards this high. So I already talked to you about this at the beach, but you want to try to minimize that rope slack that you get. So that rope slack is, when you raise it up high, you can see that rope is kind of pointed upwards here, right? And then when you go into that catch, you have a really strong catch, but because there's this dead space in the rope, right? So right here you see all that rope slack. So if you look carefully, oops, you look carefully at that rope, right, as I'm getting you ready here, there's all that rope slack, and then you catch in and find some resistance. So between here and here, there's a lot of dead space, is what I call that. Okay, it's similar to if you were paddling on the water, you're setting up your blade like several inches way up above the water, and you're not going to even touch the water until several inches into your catch, right? What this is also doing is, right, if you watch this in slow motion, you'll see that when the rope actually engages, or when you actually find that resistance, your body ends up absorbing a lot of the shock that, like, I call it shock. It's not quite as high frequency, but it's kind of like a shock to your body. Your body kind of absorbs that impact a lot, and so a lot of that energy gets dissipated in your joints. So if you watch carefully right here as you go down and in, so it's hard to see when I like play it in this super slow motion. So I'm gonna play it back continuous. So right there at the bottom of the catch, you can see your body jolt right there. So right there. Whereas what I want you to try to achieve is, if you set up a little bit lower, okay, so you'll see on this side, right, my lower arm is aimed kind of at that bar, or maybe just above that bar, but in general, if I were paddling on the boat, I'm kind of aiming that lower hand close to the outer armpit of the person in front of me. So this stance keeps me closer to that virtual water that I'm talking about on the ERG. So then when I catch in, right, so if you watch my motion in the catch right now, in that catch, you can see that my body is keeping it nice and smooth in that catch, so that immediately when I start that power, my joints are all engaged, and there's no wasted power going through that system. Okay, so I think that's one of the big things here. in terms of how you can make sure to convert a lot of that energy that you're storing up when you get into this good powerful stance here. Just lower those arms a little bit closer to that virtual water, right? I think the mechanics of your pool would be really good. It's just that one change. And then let's go ahead and move now to the front view. Okay, I'm going to bring both of our videos to the front view here. Okay, and front view. Okay, pretty solid on your arm setup in terms of your top arm being almost above your lower hand. Okay, I think the main thing I want to focus on here is when you finish your stroke, okay, I like to make sure to think about the follow through and the exit similar to what I would do on the water, right? So let me time up our exits here as well. So the moment that you start recovering forward is right here. So that's what I'm going to sync up. So you finish your stroke. I finish my stroke here. Okay, so one of the biggest differences, right? Obviously, if you look carefully at both of our exit techniques, when I finish my stroke, I would kind of try to relax both hands as much as possible. Relax both hands as much as possible, right? And you'll see that I open up, I kind of cradle that paddle with my lower hand, keep it nice and relaxed through this region. My top hand comes a little bit lower across this way. So I'm mainly kind of focusing on what you're doing with your hands and your grip, right? So you can see, if you look closely at my hand here, nice and relaxed, open hand, just making sure that that paddle doesn't fly forward and out of my hand, whereas you're kind of gripping that paddle pretty tightly on both the top and the bottom, and you can see that your forearms here are still like pretty engaged. So during this phase of recovery, you have to let those muscles relax a bit more too, so that you have that relaxation between each pull to maximize your next pull, right? So everything about the recovery needs to be a little bit more fluid and relaxed, so that when you get into your next stroke, you have let your body rest a little bit. Okay, hope that helps. That's pretty much it.